Hello, welcome to the Master's Degree Orientation for the Department of Educational Leadership for KSU. My name is Professor Laura Lashley and I'm going to be your host for tonight's orientation. So for this agenda, we will first go over some important introductions for the department. Then I will take you through how to register for your courses, important dates, master's program general information, including information about the available concentrations. We'll go over briefly desire to learn, chalk and wire, the field logs that you have to complete for your courses, financial aid, and just basic notes for how to be successful in our programs. So here's some information for you, and this PowerPoint will be available for you. I will send it out for an email as well, with just some basic contact information for important folks in our department. So as you probably know, our department chair and illustrious leader is Dr. Mike Dishman. I have his email address here. That is by far the best way to contact almost anybody in the Department of Education, or well, the Department of Educational Leadership, I should say. The department administrator is Miss Jane Willie. She's, bar none, the lady that you talk to when you need to get things done. Our graduate program coordinator is Miss Melinda Ross. She's the person to talk to you on things where you have questions about if you're registered, if you have questions about whether you've been fully accepted to the program, anything like that. At a high level, Melinda Ross is your woman for that. So registration, first things first, there are two registration periods for KSU. Typically we give this orientation right towards the end of the first registration, but never fear. That's because you can always register during drop add registration, which is also known as late registration. So if you haven't registered already because you didn't know what courses to take, no worries, you can always do it during the drop add. So the first step in registering for your courses is getting your net ID and password. The first thing you do is log on to https://netid.kennesaw.edu and you have to activate your account. This gives you your net ID and you will create your password from there. Note, you're going to need that KSU ID number in order to activate your net ID account, and you can find your KSU number at the following website. It's easier for you just to look at it, huh? If you need help, contact ITS, and I have the number here for you as well. Now, once you get that net ID and password, you can officially register on OWL Express. You'll go to OWL Express and enter your net ID and password. Click on Registration and Student Records. Click on Select Term and pick whatever the term is. I have Summer 2013 down here now, but obviously you'll pick whatever term you're registering for. Click on Class Registration and Fee Payment. Click on Adding and Dropping Classes, and then you'll enter the 5-digit CRN for the courses you need to take. So for example, one of the courses I teach is called EDL 7500. That is the name of the course. It is not the CRN. The CRN is specifically the 5-digit numeral you'll be given by Jane, usually Jane Willie, and when you're told what classes to register. You'll enter the CRNs in the Add Classes worksheet area and then click on Submit Changes. If you see Web Registered displayed by the course, then you know you were successful. So it's not rocket science, it's fairly easy. Really, you just need to know those 5-digit CRNs for the courses that you need to take. After you register, you'll select the Registration and Student Records icon, and then you can click on Display Your Class Schedule, Fees, and Grades in order to view and print off your schedule. Now, you have several options for how you pay. To pay online, you can select Review Charges and Pay Online, then click Pay Online to actually pay. Other options are viewed on the podcast mentioned earlier in this presentation. If you have issues with any payment, you can contact the Bursar's office for Kennesaw at 770-423-6419. So here's some additional information. What I had just mentioned before is that podcast. Please visit this website for the podcast for lots of useful information about parking, dates, and registration. And registration generally. Generally speaking, you will not need a parking pass, by the way. Some folks will tell you do, but since the master's program is typically offered completely online, you really don't need a parking pass. This may change when the Education Leadership Department changes to an on-campus location, but for now, you can get away without having one. So, the master's degree in educational leadership. There are 30 core courses, 30 hours worth of core courses for you to take, and you can see the names of them here. These are the courses that no matter what concentration you have, you'll take. Now, there are 3 different concentrations currently available for an additional 6 hours. We have an ethics and multiculturalism concentration, where you'll take educational leadership and ethics, school leadership in multicultural contexts. We have technology leadership, which has always been a popular concentration, with 2 different ed tech classes. And then our newest concentration is the independent schools concentration. We actually offer 3 courses for that one: an introduction to independent and charter schools, management of nonprofit corporations, and institutional advancement. The master's degree in educational leadership can be completed basically by taking 2 classes per semester, including the summers, over a 2-year period. And that's really considered a part-time status and lets you take enough classes that you're, pretty busy every semester, but at the same time, you can still have a job. It's a total of 36 credit hours, 30 hours, like I mentioned before, in core courses, and 6 hours in your concentration. Courses will typically be offered in a variety of formats, most of which will be online or a hybrid format, although there are some courses that will only be offered in person. So make sure that you're prepared for the possibilities that, and when you sign up for courses that you know what you're getting into. As you all should know, the master's degree is no longer tied to a certification or license in Georgia. But if you move out of state and the state that you're moving to allows master's degrees to work for certifications or licenses, then our degree does work for those. Just Georgia no longer allows master's. Now, on to some more practical information. So, our online program is primarily delivered through Desire to Learn, which is an online learning management system. It's basically used to house and deliver all of our online courses. It's very user-friendly, but it does require you to play around with it and get comfortable. Note, you must have your NetID and password to log on before you can actually get into the Desire to Learn framework. Class meetings, if your classes choose to have them. Some online classes don't ever have live meetings online, and some have required meetings online. So make sure you know with your professor in advance what you'll be held to. They will either be held on WIMBA, which is housed in D2L. It's a program that allows you to see, if you want, each other's faces through video cameras and use of microphones, and you synchronously meet up online and talk through the course material. Or through GoToMeeting, which I personally use, and I think a majority of our professors are switching to, which is also a virtual meeting program. Neither of these programs will require you to purchase any software, but you may need a headset to hear and communicate with the class if your computer doesn't already have a microphone or speakers installed. Chalk and Wire. Chalk and Wire is an electronic portfolio, which basically means that it's housed online, and it's what you will use to upload a collection of meaningful work to show your mastery of ed leadership standards. Because our degree programs are all based on educational leadership standards, that means you have to have proof of meeting certain standards. Is it required? A lot of people are confused about this. Chalk and Wire is absolutely required for the master's degree program, so please plan on purchasing it soon. You buy it from the library. I believe it is roughly around $100, but you get to use it throughout the entire program. And you can also use it for the education specialist degree or the education doctorate if you continue on at KSU for those programs. Chalk and Wire does not count towards your GPA, but it is required in order for you to graduate. The reason being is that, as I mentioned a second ago, because we have a leadership standard program, a program based on meeting certain standards of educational leadership, we have to be able to show proof of you meeting those standards in order to keep our accreditation. So basically, Chalk and Wire portfolios take the place of a thesis or a comprehensive exam. So whenever you're sad about Chalk and Wire, just think at least you don't have to write a master's thesis. Chalk and Wire is basically what you're going to make of it. If you don't upload your assignments regularly, it's going to be a pain in your butt, I'll tell you that. And you're also missing an opportunity to create a portfolio of your work in leadership that could be useful later on in securing employment. For example, I know I've had students go on to apply for principal positions where they've been asked, have you ever done a change management plan? Have you ever written a human resources recruiting plan? And the fact is they have, but they haven't held on to those materials. So it's important to use Chalk and Wire because then it's an easy way for you to have those materials. Make sure you understand your professor's requirements as they relate to Chalk and Wire. It should be one of the first things that you talk to your professor about in the semester. And as I mentioned a minute ago, to purchase Chalk and Wire, buy it from the bookstore, the KSU bookstore, and they will help you to set up your account. Field logs. Because our programs do require field experiences for the completion of study, you have to keep field logs in certain classes. You'll be expected to keep a log of applicable field experiences designed by your instructor throughout the program. Make sure you understand your professor's requirements as they relate to these logs and experiences at the start of each semester. Because again, you don't want to be caught at the end of the semester trying to figure out what you have to do. All right, I'll just very briefly go over financial aid with you. In order to receive financial aid, first, you have to fill out the FAFSA form, preferably by the priority deadline. You have to fill out a FAFSA form every single year that you want financial aid. The FAFSA priority deadlines for summer will be April 1st, for fall, April 1st, and for spring, November 1st. Now, if the state has already passed, but you're still interested in applying for financial aid for one of these semesters, you can always apply and see what you get. The priority deadline just means that if you apply by that date, you're guaranteed the most money. So check it out and see, if you still need financial aid, it may still be an option for you. It is recommended for you to apply to financial aid at the same time as entrance to the program, but you do have to be fully accepted to receive the award. They aren't just going to give you a loan without proof of you being enrolled. It makes sense. Scholarships are actually available for you to apply for between November and March. We have a special scholarship website at KSU for you to check that will help you keep abreast of those opportunities. Loans, to be honest, are going to be the most common form of financial aid. Those are Stafford and Grad Plus. Shoot for those Stafford loans if possible because they have subsidized interest options and they're generally going to have lower rates as well. The Grad Plus are private loans and thus their rates are higher. Another option for you to help get some of those tuition costs down is for you to apply to be a graduate research assistant. It may not be feasible for you to do your first semester in the master's program, but it's something for you to think about for the following semesters. Our department does consider students for graduate research assistant positions. Basically, if you work with a professor on a certain research project for a certain number of hours each week, it can entitle you to tuition waivers. Other types of GRA work may also be available in the department. So if this is something you're interested in, you get along well with a professor and you want to help them out with their research, reach out to them and to Dr. Dishman to see if there's some opportunities available for you. Last but not least, I just want to talk real quickly about what to expect from us, your Ed Leadership Department. First and foremost is that our programs are constantly growing and improving, so basically pardon our progress. We're trying to make our degree programs as relevant and meaningful and exciting for you as possible, and that means that things are always changing because we're always making things better. So please be patient. My next tip is to keep perspective on the situation no matter what it is. And for example, what I like to remind people is that remember that for your professors, especially some professors who've been around for a long time, they may treat this job like a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday position, even in an online class situation. So if you have an assignment that's due Sunday night, at midnight, and you have a question that's burning about that assignment and you don't email your professor until 11:30 at night, 30 minutes before that assignment's due, you may not get a response from that professor back in time. So it's important to keep that in perspective when you have questions on assignments, not to wait till the last minute. Because your professors, for them this is a job, albeit for some it's a passion, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be around the clock available. So keep that in mind. Also, I would highly recommend establishing a buddy system with another student in the program. That way, if you need advanced answers and your professor is not responding, you have somebody that you can text or shoot a call to and figure out what's going on and what you need help with. I've already mentioned that it's always best to try to log on to class, an online class, more than a few minutes before class starts, just so you get on there and you can be prepared for any technical difficulties. Another thing I'd like to mention is just that there aren't really electives or choices for each semester about what you're going to take. And the reason why are these are lean, mean programs, and we lead you through them because we want you to get in, get out, get your degree, move on and advance and become the educational leader that you want to be. If you would like to switch to the independent schools concentration, by the way, if you signed up as maybe an ethics and multiculturalism concentration or the instructional technology, and you would rather switch to independent schools, that's something our department can help you with later on in the program. So without further ado, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, welcome to the master's degree program at Kennesaw State. We're excited to have you.